Alright, that brings us over to the primary control center here. Now, got lots of nice buttons and lights to look at. This is also where the Rapid Camp controller goes. Now, you can't charge the controller right here. The controller takes a USB plug to charge. Eventually, maybe I'll run a wire through that and cut a hole here so I can charge it at the same time that it's parked here. First off, we have the generator. It does use the primary gas tank, so you don't have to worry about any separate gas tank for filling up, but it uses a separate fuel pickup from that tank. So you will not run your gas completely empty using the generator, so you don't have to worry about getting stranded that way. You just press and hold stop for a couple seconds until this red light comes on. Okay, there's the red light, and now we just press and hold start until the engine starts up. I love that, and it's worked flawlessly for me so far. Our tank status for everything. So first, our propane is at 2/3 right now. The battery ones, you don't look at this, you look at the bottom set of letters. There are sensors inside the fresh, black, and gray water tanks to tell us how much those are filled up. Fresh water is full, black water is empty, gray water is empty. The slide I've already extended. Whenever you're extending or retracting, you want to hold it until you hear the motors amp out. So like I talked about earlier, there are little electric heaters just stuck to the bottom of the gray and black water tanks. So those can be turned on here to keep those warm on the colder months. Water pump is right here. Now this water pump, apparently it's just a normal thing, but it makes a lot of hammering sounds. Water heater, like I talked about earlier, it's both a propane and an electric heater. You can do one or the other or both. The AC and heat system is just a normal thermostat. Eventually, maybe I'll replace this with a Nest or something, I don't know. Auto leveling system, I will probably do a separate video on. You let the engine run, you press auto level, you wait a couple minutes, and it does all the jacks for you, shows you how many degrees off level you are, moves things around, and then says, okay, you're good to go. So that's an awesome system to have. Moving on to the kitchen area. Got a nice little cabinet here. Now this spot, this is kind of just a very small storage compartment. It's hard to find a good use for this space. I don't know what's going to go here, but that's what it is. Nice drawers for silverware and stuff. Sink is stainless steel. This I believe is also stainless steel. And then that's plastic. I do like having all the stainless. It's nice. There are separate lights for the kitchen, for the couch area, more storage up here, and there's the plug for the microwave. Now you'll notice I put some to-do lists on the side of these. I like lists, and especially since this is my first RV, I want to make sure I'm doing everything right. Now this trash can area was originally supported entirely just by these 4 screws, and this is some 1/8" wood, and so this whole thing flexed up and down, and whenever you had any weight in the trash can whatsoever, it would flex this back and then possibly get stuck on the piping and stuff as you bring the slide in and out. Yeah, you can still see it right here. When I put the slide in one time, it snapped some stuff and broke it. But Camping World was awesome and fixed this all up for me. It's now rock solid and has some extra supports on the sides over here and over here. And then they also, the drawers here didn't have any support on them. So they built a nice support setup back here to solidify everything. And I highly recommend Thor kind of do this sort of setup from the factory in the future. But anyway, that's their decision to make. That's where the filter is, and I believe it is a full system filter, so not just the sink. So since there's no real oven, they put a convection oven in. It's a fairly small microwave. It's definitely not a residential size one, but it works fairly nicely. We haven't used this at all yet, but it is a propane one. We did check that it lights up on all 3 of the burners, just to make sure that didn't need repaired or anything. Got a light and a blower to the exhaust fan that I showed you covered up earlier. Some extra storage where the oven would be. Extra storage space is always nice. Through this door we have the bathroom. Nice little drying rack for hanging up your towels and stuff. Now They don't recommend leaving moist stuff just hanging everywhere, but I do put that there, so I guess if you leave it open, it at least won't get mildewy. To keep things kind of all season, they elevated the whole shower so that all of the drains and stuff are actually inside the heated area of the camper. That's where the low point drains are for winterizing or sanitizing the freshwater system. But that does mean that it's now a very short area. So I am about 5'10", and this is how I fit into here. So it's useful that they have the bubble here because it's definitely necessary for anyone taller than about 5 foot. Instead of a door, they use this nice little slider. Now we've got some storage areas here. I do wish that they had some sort of like either bungee or metal or something, so I might do some additions here because anything you put in here just slides right out whenever you're driving. Cabinet here, nice and deep. Definitely more than I expected when I first opened it. There's really some storage here. Yeah. Plastic faucet, but stainless steel tub. We've got some storage. They kind of tried to clean things up and make it usable under the sink. You can get some toilet paper or something into here. But down at the bottom, they just put a wall up that blocks all the other plumbing stuff. So pretty much no storage here, just enough to put some drop-ins or something. So up above, it's not a fantastic fan or max fan or whatever they called it, but they do give a little fan here. The propane and carbon monoxide detector, so that's useful. And we've heard that beep whenever we start up the heating system. It'll kind of smell like propane, and that has gone off once before. So I always recommend opening up these two vents whenever you turn the heater on. Got kind of dresser areas on left and right side of this door here. This side is the small one. It kind of took some space for the TV wiring of the back that we're about to look at, so that's why this thickness is here. But still enough room in here to hang some stuff from the top and shove some stuff in the back. So this side has two drawers, a short one and a medium one, because the spot for the third drawer is taken up for the circuit breaker panel. So this is where all the breakers come into, and this is good stuff to learn and know, and make sure you have some extra fuses on hand for those, but these are all the breakers for the big stuff. On the other side, we have a much wider area, but not quite as deep as the other side. So this is a wide one, but not deep. This side has three drawers, short, medium, actually short, and big drawer. So that's usually where we store the pillows. Solid gaskets around this door to seal off any fumes and stuff. Do not store, transport, or dispense fuel inside this vehicle. So you're supposed to run any engines out of fuel before you store them in here. But then up here we have another warning label that says that if there are noxious fumes in here, just make sure you open the vents. So I think they're just kind of covering their basis on this one, but if you do transport any gas back here, or any motorcycles or dirt bikes or anything with gas in them, I do recommend opening these vents up. And you can either push it that direction, which will scoop air in as you drive, or you can open it this way, which will Venturi effect air out as you drive. So there's one vent here, and in the back down here we have another one, same thing. So what I like to do is, for this one, I put it into Venturi effect pull air out, pull air in as you're driving, and that creates a diagonal cross airflow all the way across the garage to get any fumes out of here. This has the ceiling lights and the spotlights. These spotlights are the ones I was talking about that are above the awning right here. So if you're loading things up on the ramp, or just want to have light on the deck area when you're using it as a deck, you can turn those spotlights on. Eventually I will want to hook these up to the reverse lights, so I can use them as reverse lights as well. 2 spots here for jump starting things. So if you have a dirt bike back here that won't start, you don't have to drag it all the way around to the front and use the battery under the hood. You can hook into these guys. I think these pull from the house battery and not the chassis battery. This is a stereo. It has Bluetooth on it, which is useful for playing music from phones, and an auxiliary in. This unit actually controls both the speakers here and here. Those are labeled as speaker A, and then the 2 speakers that were out on either side of the TV outside the unit are on speaker B. So you control the outside sound from this unit as well as the sound in the back here. Now what this means, is just kind of a con in my opinion, is that to listen to, say you have a football game on the TV outside, if you want to listen to the audio from that on the speakers out there instead of just the TV speakers, you would have to play the same game on this TV, hook an auxiliary cable from the headphone output of here to the auxiliary input here, and then just play the same game inside here and out there, and then play the same audio on speaker A and B, so that the same sound that you're listening to on the TV would be coming through the speakers. Now, it's kind of an unfortunate workaround. I'm hoping to do a video of hooking all of the entertainment pieces together and making it more of a whole RV entertainment system, but that's gonna be a project and a half right there. So haven't done that yet. You'll also notice that the 3 TVs are basically completely independent of one another. The only thing they all 3 have in common is the antenna input. So they do all have coax for their antenna, and that all comes down to the antenna that can be rotated here. That antenna feeds into all 3 TVs, so you can at least get air signal to all of them at the same time and get good reception. But if I wanted to, say, play a DVD on all 3 TVs, or even 2 of the TVs, so we can have people back here and on the bed at the same time, if you wanted to do something like that, you'd have to run your own HDMI Y adapters and run long cables through and hook them all up manually. Now, this TV, like the one on the outside, is on a 0 rotation mount. It's just mounted straight onto the wall, which is a little unfortunate because it would be nice to be able to swing this thing out and be more of an entertainment area sort of thing. Down on the floor, you'll notice some nice flush D-rings. So these are all for strapping down any motorcycle or whatever you have back here. Got nice storage in there, and they make it out of this metal so that if you have any liquids in here that happen to leak or something like that, you're not deteriorating the shelves at all. Now, the one thing that I find unfortunate is they say that, but yet the back of it is not metal. This is still just the wall. So anything you actually have dripping or anything is going to damage the wall. So I don't know if I'm going to like put a sheet metal there or something just to seal all that up. So earlier I talked about how the door was very well sealed, and this whole thing is just completely sealed from the living area. Now that's good for transporting gas things back here and not having any fumes going that way, and you're not wasting heat and air conditioning from the main living area going back here if nobody's back here. But that means that if anybody's living back here, you need separate heat and separate air. So it comes with a separate air conditioning unit, which is useful, plugged in over here. Separate heat there is none of, so that's why I have this space heater back here, and I plug that into the same thing as the air conditioner. Similar storage to above the couch in the main living area. Nice big storage area, and you'll see up here we also have an HDMI cable. This HDMI cable only goes to this TV. Again, there's no interconnect between the TVs HDMI wise. These do not come standard. I don't remember how much of an add-on they were, but I do like them. They take up a little bit of space, so maybe I'd remove them if I really needed some extra space back here. But they're useful for entertaining people. They're super easy to fold down and turn into couches. So this is useful if you're tailgating or just hanging out. We used this a lot when we did our snowboard trip. We would come back here while we were taking a break, just hang out, get something to drink, and that way we're not worried about all of our snow getting everywhere because it's a nice rugged floor, so the snow can drip on this and we'll just rinse it out. You can also turn these into beds. So you can have it as either two separate beds like this. They're about twin size maybe, I don't know. They are a little bit weird shaped beds because they're meant to be couches, and they've got the cup holders here. It's a little strange. You might want to have an extra couple layers of blankets or something to smooth that out. But you can use it as two separate beds, or we can fill this gap in between here. This guy should come with your unit. Make sure it does. Make sure they don't forget it or anything. But it just has some nice fold-out legs. Now, one side of the legs should be longer than the other, so make sure you get it the right direction. Extra padding goes on in between to fill the gap. There we go. So now you have a full, I believe this is queen-sized bed. Since you are possibly using this as an entertainment area back here, you could set up a table and eat back here, something like that. They offer this bug screen. Now, this was one thing on my list of 40, and now is at least better, but still going to take some finagling. So basically they give you this bug screen, and in these side panels there are magnets that you can use to close this gap to make it really easy to go in and out. Now, when I first got this unit, this bug screen was mismeasured and I could not actually close this gap like this. It would basically, I'd fully extend it and it would come to about here. So they replaced it, remeasured it, installed that, and now it's excellent. So back here, this whole thing is normally used as a ramp, but if you lift it up and hook these aircraft cables like I showed you earlier, you can use it as a deck, and it's got these railings here. I believe these railings were an additional option as well, and I don't remember what the cost of those were. But these railings can stay installed even when you're using it as a ramp, because all you have to do is fold them back. And now they will stay vertical like this, and you can just drop the ramp down and use it like that. It's almost like it has guardrails on each side. So you don't have to remove these if you want to use it as a ramp. You just fold them back and it can be used either way. But medium-sized dogs, you can actually use this to just let them wander around back here, as long as you're not worried about them jumping over. And that actually brings me to another thing on my list of 40. So basically, if you don't want to be worried about a medium-sized dog squeezing through this gap and getting away, they give you this nice little flap of fabric here to close the gap. Now, unfortunately, when I first got it, they had the snaps on this side, but there was nothing to snap it to over here. So Camping World was awesome and put those on for me, so now it just snaps in over here and closes off that gap on both sides. So that's useful. It's another thing you want to check, make sure they didn't forget that if you do buy this unit. And that about wraps up this video. So hopefully I covered everything. Maybe this video was a little bit too long, longer than it needed to be, but I hope you enjoyed getting a thorough walkthrough and review of everything. And maybe if you're shopping for RVs, you can consider this one as an option, or if you already own it, maybe you learned something new about it that you didn't already know. So feel free to let me know if you have any questions down in the comments. If you want to see any additional videos about any of the equipment on this thing, I have already read the manuals from front to back and will happily try to make an instructional video about something that I may have missed. So give me any requests you have and I will try my best to knock them out. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks again for watching and have a good one. you.